there, everyone. I hope you can all see me. Welcome back to another YouTube, Facebook Live here on Altenew. So I'm just going to wait for a couple of you to pop in, and then we can start crafting today with some fabulous new supplies from Altenew. So I'm just going to wait a little while, pop in, wave hello, and then we can start. So today behind the lovely Altenew badge is going to be Joanna. She's going to be helping me today. She'll be popping in all those links that you will need if you want to get any of these supplies. Hi, Teresa. How are you? So pop in, say hello. Hi, Vanessa. How's the weather where you are? I hope a little better than here. Hi, Stacy. Hi, Sue. How are you? Good afternoon to you. Hi. Yeah. Hi, Cece. Hi, Michelle. From sunny San Francisco. Oh, we did have some sun today, but it's like really chilly at the moment. It's a lot chillier than it's supposed to be for spring. And it's going to be a little bit warmer this weekend, but lots of rain. And I'm just waiting for sunshine and warmth. But rain will help my grass grow because we had to sow some new grass. So I hope that will help. Hi, Vanessa. Well, enjoy the lovely sunshine for me, will you? Hi, Anita. Thank you so much for joining me today on another live session here at Altenew on YouTube and Facebook. Super fun to be on both platforms. Today, I'll be sharing a new product from Altenew, which was released 2 days ago. It is the Builder Flower Indian Lotus, which I've got here. Mine is super duper new because I decided not to work with the stamp sets this month, but I had to jump in to do the live, so I will be working with it anyway, so which is super, super fun. I don't have any examples to show as yet because I'm going to craft with you today and I will create 2 cards. So this is the Builder Flower set. I'm going to try and hold it up a little bit so you can see it. It's the Indian Lotus. You can create a beautiful lotus flower, and it has also got its coordinating leaf. Okay, like the pad that goes with it. It is a layering stamp. That's the idea of our Builder Flower sets. Oh, thank you, Aram. Yes, I have a huge collection of blazers. That's kind of my thing. I have to stop buying them. I have them in all colors. I have lots of them. I love them. It's my go-to thing. There we go. So we've got our lovely lotus flower with our different layers. And then we've got our lovely little leaf, which has 3 layers. The lotus has 4 layers and the outline. Okay, so lots of different possibilities with this set. Hello, Diana. Hi, Brianna. Hi, Carmen. Lovely Indian Lotus. It is pretty. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Yes, hi, Lynn. How are you, Lynn? Thank you for sharing, everyone. Do share while it is live. We'll pick a lucky winner at the end of this live session. We also get some lovely sentiments on the set. I'm going to try and read them to you. So once again, we've got the lovely combination of the scripted font, which I love, and then a more typed font. So we've got like the word be, which is written here and scripted, and you can create lots of different sentiments with it. Be kind to yourself. Be fearlessly authentic. Then we've got you in this crazy world. You are my zen. We appreciate you. You complete me. So lots of different options with this. So it's a really, really fun set. There we go. And because it's a Builder Flower set, we do have the coordinating die, which enables you to cut out the flower and the little leaf that goes with it. So without further ado, I'm going to pop you down and then we can start crafting today. And I'll show you the different supplies I've pulled out. I've got 2 ideas in my mind. I hope I'll be able to work on them. Last live session went really well. I was able to create my card and my layout. So I do hope I've got the hang of this thing and that I'll be able to create these 2 cards. Just to mention, cards are not my forte. So sometimes it takes me longer to create cards than layouts, but we will try this. So I'm just going to click here on my computer so that I can pop you down. And you should be able to see my screen. There we go. Isn't this super duper easy? Hi, hello, Uta. Hi, Marlette. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Sonia. Yeah, I know the sentiments. I love sentiments. You can never get enough sentiments. So I've got my stamp set and my dies. What is fun about these dies is they will fit through the mini blossom. I did check. I did cut them down to size, so they fit in the mini blossom, so no huge tools necessary on your work surface. I've pulled out the Water Garden marker set that we'll be using on a background. So I've already got this out. I've also got the blending tool, and there's something sticking on it, and I don't know what it is, but anyway. So I've got the little blender tool. So I've got that out. Yes, I love it when a stamp set at least has a couple of sentiments, because I don't like getting out lots of stuff. I feel overwhelmed when I've got lots of products on my craft space. So just having a stamp set with the sentiments on it is great as well. I've also got my my little watercolor brushes from Altenew. I don't know which one I'll be using, if I'll be using the set of 4 or the set of 5. This one is pretty large. We'll just see how that goes. I'll probably play around with both. So I've got those out. So if you're looking for some really fun watercolor brushes, these are fabulous. I haven't picked the colors yet, but I'll be using some watercolor, artist watercolor brushes. So I've got my little pot here. So let me just pop that off. Oops. So I've got my little buckets with all my watercolor brush markers in there. So I'll use a couple of those too. We'll just see how that goes. I'll just pick the colors that seem okay. You can use regular watercolors too. It's just those are just hanging beside me, and so I kind of tend to grab those. You need some watercolor cardstock, some extra white cardstock just for stamping your flowers and your leaf on there, and then you will also need an A2 size card base. There we go. So we'll be creating 2 cards. I'm going to start with the layered card with the layered stamping, and then I'll show you another way of using the set where you don't use all of the layers. So let's start. Let's pop this watercolor paper to one side. I don't need this just yet. I will need my little strip of paper here and my stamp set. I'll also be using my Misty tool because I'm not a really good layerer with acrylic blocks. So I do tend to grab my Misty tool for this. And I'm sorry, but the background is a bit stamped and loved, but it still does the trick. Thank you for sharing, Joanne. Just going to have a look at all these lovely comments. Thank you for sharing, Jennifer. There we go. So this is the first time I'm using this set, so I am going to prep my stamps a little bit. So usually when it's the first time I use my stamp set, I will just go over the whole set with my little Altenew eraser. So I'm just going to do that now. That way everything is nicely prepped. Especially the larger, like the fuller stamps. It's a really good idea to get those nice and prepped because your ink might pool on that. So I'm just using the Altenew little eraser. And I kind of just use the flat side here. Makes a little bit of a squeaky noise. And if you've just joined, I'm using the Indian Lotus Build a Flower set, which was released 2 days ago. You can still go and hop along in the blog hop and see some lovely, lovely creations. There we go. So I think I've prepped all of the stamps on here. And usually what I do before I use them is I just like take a cloth and just wipe over it gently just to take away any of those little excess pieces of eraser. There we go. So that's nicely prepped. So let's start. So I'm just going to pop my little, my cardstock is a bit too large. Let's just cut up a little snippet. There we go. Joanne, hello. Thank you for sharing on Facebook. So let's start. We're going to stamp one of the flowers, and I might do 2 leaves just to make sure. And I'll be using all of the layers. That way you can see how they look. So I've pulled out a couple of colors. What I decided to do was use the colors that also come in our little bundle. So there is a bundle with the stamp, the die, and then these ink sets. You will not get the ovals. You will get the mini. But I don't have the minis in these colors. So we've got Cherry Blossom Crisp Dye Ink and Green Valley. But you could go with any other colors. You don't need to necessarily use these. But I saw some amazing cards. There was even a black and gray one, which looks really, really stunning. So we're going to start with our little flower, and I'm going to start with my first layer here, which is the fullest image. Now, if you want to, you can always take out your trifold card. I'll just show that to you. And just open it up, and you have the different layers. So they say to start with the outline. So let's just start with the outline. That's me going all wrong once again. I think it's probably easier to start with the outline, and then you can just fill it up. So let's start with the outline. So the outline, you can do that different ways. Okay, if you want to do, you could go with a black, but I'm just going to take the darkest shade in my Cherry Blossom, which is, oh, there we go, which is Razzleberry. I love this name. Such a pretty, pretty name. Ooh. We've still got another stamp here. I'll have to pop that away. Okay. So let's go. Let's just ink this up with the outline. This is also a great stamp if you want to do some no-line watercoloring. I saw a very pretty example of no-line watercoloring on Teresa's blog. So pretty, and there's a video. So if you want to do more no-line watercoloring, I advise you do that. There we go. So there I've got my first stamp down. It looks a bit black on screen, but it is Razzleberry in color. There we go. Just giving that a quick little clean. There we go. Let's go in with the next one. So now we can go in with our full shape. Hi, Sue. Good afternoon. Oh, you already got yours. I imagine that you can't wait to play with it. So I'm just going to line this up with my outline, which is very simple and easy because you're just going to follow the outer edges of the stamp and just make sure everything is nicely inside. There we go. Let's just pop this down. There we go. And now we can ink this up, and I'm going to go for the lightest color here, which is Pink Diamond. So let's just give this a good inking. I kind of like changing the direction of the ink pad, kind of gives me that impression that the coverage is a little bit better. I'm giving that a good press. Oh, that looks so pretty. Nicely filled up. I'm feeling really proud because I layered that up nicely. There we go. And I've already got ink all over my fingers. Well, the ink does match my blazer, which is a good thing, probably. Let's just get it clean. So let's go back in with our next layer. Hi, Irma. There we go. So if we have a look here, so we've done the outline, and then we've gone in with our fullest layer, and now we're going to go in with this one over here, and then we'll end with the more detailed one. So we're always going to go from the fullest image to the more detailed one, usually stamping our outline first. That way we've got a nice base to work on. Thank you for sharing. So once again, we're just going to layer this one up. And once again, I like using the outer edges, and there are like certain lines along the base here. Trying to show it a little better with my pen. Let's just go like along here. You can really line it up nicely, and the outer edges here of those petals. What I like doing, if it's like a more complex stamp or sometimes smaller ones with a lot of details, I kind of pull them off and then kind of layer them on top of the layers of the stamp set itself, just to get an idea how they layer up. And that way you get a good idea on how to place them once you've stamped them on your card base. So next color is Pinkalicious here. So once again, just going to give that a good press in different directions, just because I think that helps. There we go. And once again, giving that a good little press. And you can start seeing that flower come to life, and it's so pretty. When I went to England 2 years ago, we went to these lovely gardens, and they had this huge, beautiful pond area. It wasn't a tiny pond, it was a large pond, and they had these beautiful lilies on there. It was gorgeous. And now we're going to go in with our last layer. So it's the most detailed one, which is over here. Let's just pull it off. And this is really an easy set to layer. You're always going to use kind of the bottom section over here and your outer petals. It's super duper easy. Especially if you have a stamping tool, it will make it a lot easier. It's a bit hard. I like to hang over it. Sorry, my head just popped in the screen. Hi, Dorothy. Oh, yes, I love the ink names as well. They have such a good way of creating those ink names. And last one is Rubelite. So that's our third color in the set. I'm a huge fan of pink. So when these came out, I was so, so happy. Because the other colors were more peachy. There we go. And if you want to color this with your artist markers, this is a really good way of seeing how the colors fall and where you can do the darker spots and create that kind of look. So if you want to do some coloring, definitely have a look at how the shadows fall and how the shades are formed on the stamped images. So we've got our flower, which is stamped. Now in the center, you can add a little bit of color using these little triangles over here. That's for the center. But I'm going to be very lazy, and I'm just going to take a yellow artist marker. So I'm just going to use Warm Sunshine. I'm just going to kind of color that in like so, just because it's a lot easier than stamping it. So that's just me being super lazy. So let's do our leaves. And once again, we're going to start with the outline. Whoop. I'll be stamping 2. And I think for our leaves, we've only got 3 layers. So I'm going to kind of use which colors I'm going to use. Let me just think. I want to have something pretty bright. So I'm going to probably go in with Grass Fields for my base color, then Shadow Creek, and then the Mountain Pine is going to be my outer layer. I want something pretty, I want a statement. So let's go in with Mountain Pine, which is our darkest shade, and create that outline. So number 1. There we go. And I'm just going to stamp this twice. So I'm thinking I might use 2, or I might not, but I just want to stamp 2 just to make sure. There we go. Yes, these greens are very, very pretty. There are lots of pretty greens in all our ink sets. It's just picking the ones you want. So let's go in with our base layer, which is this one over here. And once again, layering these is going to be super easy. So it will just line up nicely with the outline. So you've got this little like indentation here, and you will also see that on that first layer. There we go, nicely lined up. If you've just joined, don't forget to share, because we will be picking a lucky winner at the end of this live session, and you might win a $15 gift voucher to our store. So once again, I'm just going to ink this up nicely. And this is one of my favorite colors. It's so vibrant. It's called Grass Field. It's so, so pretty. There we go. And because I prepped my steps, the ink isn't pooling and it's going to be nice and smooth. Give this a good press. Look at that. That's so, so pretty and really nice and vibrant. Go. We're going to do the same for this one. Like so. Just pop it down. Okay. So that's the good thing about the Misty tool. If you've popped your paper nicely in the corner, even if your stamp picks up the paper, you just have to pop it back in the same spot. Yes, it is a beautiful contrast to the pink. There we go, give it a good stamp. And let's just wipe this clean, and then we can do our last one here. There we go. So once again, we're just going to line this up. There we go. Don't move. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Hi, Rosie. So our next color is going to be the Shadow Creek. So let's just give this a good little pat and then pop it on. Thank you for sharing, Jen. And give that a good press. And there we go. And just look how pretty that is with that detail. It just finishes it off. It's amazing how you just add one layer and it just comes to life. So once again, I'm just going to layer this up. So here you will want to layer it based on that little nick, the little nick there, and then the outer layers of the leaf. The lily pad. There we go. Once again, Shadow Creek on top. There we go. And there we have it. So pretty, those leaves. And if you wanted to, you could just use this layer to create a fun background. It is really, really pretty and already super duper detailed. There we go. So we've got our 3 elements here. And so I'm going to cut those out. Like I said, they fit perfectly in the mini blossom. So we'll just use those. There we go. Let's just get those dies out. Thank you for sharing, Brianna. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for sharing. So let's just pop the dies out. Oh, there we go. A bit sticky. So we've got our lovely lotus flower and then our little pad. So once again, you can really easily see the shape. So you just have to pop it on top. I always use a little bit of tape just to secure the dies when they're running through. Sometimes they will move, or they will move if you don't secure them. Thank you for sharing, Barbara. So let's do this one as well. Let's secure this a little bit. Like so. So those are the first two. Just going to make my little sandwich. And then I can run them through my little mini blossom. There we go. Oh, and Joanna, sorry, I forgot to mention the mini blossom on the little supply list. There we go. Oh, this one didn't want to cut all the way through. Oops. Okay, I'm just going to run this through a second time. Maybe I should just pop my metal shim on there. It didn't want to cut out the top part. There we go. Let's just do this again. Thank you for sharing, Dawn. There we go. Yep, that's better. There we go. Now, I know some of you don't like the little white border around the die cut. So if you wanted to, you could cut them out or maybe just ink up the borders with a bit of green if you prefer. I do like the borders because I just think it makes it pop off the page a little bit more. There we go. It does crack a little bit. There we go. So here we have our second little pad. So let's pop those to one side because I lose dies all the time and then I find them and then I don't know where they're from. So let's get out our base. So our cardstock base. I popped it underneath here somewhere. So this is just normal white cardstock. Like so, and I'm going to create a kind of water effect on the bottom part of this. So I'll be using my blender and I'm going to just pick out some colors here. So I've got, let's have a look. Let me just check. I think I might go for the it's not hydrangea. The names are not correct on mine. This is, what's this one called? This must probably be Mountain Mist. Yeah, I think it's that. Let me just check. I think they mixed out. No, that's not right. Let's check. Aqualish. No, it's not Aqualicious. The names are not right on mine. And anyway, I think it's Mountain Mist, if I'm not mistaken. It's the lightest color in the Water Garden set. So I'm going to take the brush here, and I'm just going to create, let me just say it's probably, probably a third, a little bit more than a third of the card. So I'm just going to create my water base here, and I'm just going to do this in brush strokes, just go over the whole base part of my card, like so. So we're going for a water effect, so it doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. So I'm just going to kind of create a more of a squiggly line at the top. I'm going to go over one more time just to intensify the color a little bit. Okay, there we go. Hi, Jackie. They do, but just in mine was one of the first that came out. The little names on here are not correct, but they do have the names here on the sides. But this one isn't correct. So I should correct mine and put a new little tag on there. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of a darker shade. So this is Aqualicious, I think. Oh, and I've lost the tip. Just pop that back on. Let's go. So I'm going to use the lighter one and just dab a little bit of the darker color on there just to add a little bit of kind of some variation in here. So you can do this if you want to like create a lighter shade of the color or create something between the two. Let's not mix these colors up. There we go. Yes, we do have the decals if you want to pop them on top. So those do exist. And what I'm going to do now, I tested this on another project and I thought it kind of created that kind of watercolor look. I'm going to use the colorless blender. And it's going to just pick up some of that color and create like a kind of a blotchy little look. And this is just going to add that kind of create a little bit more of a watercolor effect. So I'm just going to go over certain spots and just pick up some of that color. And it just, there we go. This was a question that got asked, I don't know when, how I use the blender. This is just one of the ways I use it. I'm going to try and hold it up a little bit to the screen. I don't know if you can see the kind of variations in there. It's a lot better in real life, but it's like a little bit blotchy, but it does look like kind of a watercolor effect, a water effect, sorry. So I'm going to pop my little Lotus on there. And see, I'm kind of playing with the two here. There we go. I think I'm going to pop them like so. I do like elements that hang over my cards. So let's pop those down. And I'm going to use a little bit of foam tape just to add a little bit of added dimension. So I'm just going to cut a little bit of foam tape. So I am trying just to stick to 3 colors here. So I've got my green, my blue of the water, and then that lovely Lotus color, which is in pink. So let's pop down these flowers, these leaves first. And then we can add. So this is a very, very simple card, nothing too complicated. There we go. If you wanted to, you could add maybe some fish here. We've got those lovely cod or koi from another set. There we go. So here I'm using the dimensional foam tape from Altenew. There we go. I might just pop the flower down a teeny tiny bit, just like so. Okay, there we go. And then usually what I do is I kind of play around with the edges a little bit just to make it a little more, give it a little bit more movement. So there we go. Oops. And just as a finishing touch, I am going to add a little bit of stippling just to add a reminder of that water here up here. So I might just go like 1, 2, 3 and just create a couple of little dots here and there around my little cluster of elements. And then I can just kind of pull those up a little bit. So little 3 dots. So it's really, really subtle. There we go. And then I'm going to add my sentiment over here. Yep, I just need to add a saying. So once again, if you wanted to go and get another saying from another set, you can do that. But I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to use a sentiment, which I think is something I could say to myself now, or maybe to my son, because he's having a hard time and being very hard on himself. And so I'm going to create the saying, be, and then combine it, be kind to yourself. So let's just pop it over here. I'm using the Altenew Obsidian black ink just because it's my favorite. Hi, Lana. Thank you for joining us today. We're using the new Indian Lotus Build a Flower stamp set from Altenew. So be kind. Let's put that. Be kind to yourself, because sometimes we are really hard on ourselves. I'm going to be extra kind to myself because tomorrow I'm going to get an injection and I'm a bit scared. So be kind to yourself. So I just did this with my acrylic blocks. I hope it is nice and straight. There we go. So now that I've got my sentiment down, I think I'm going to add a couple more of my little 3 little dotties. 1, 2, 3. Just going to fill up the whole. There we go. Kind of creates a soft background. And if you wanted to, you could even add a couple more enamel dots. I pulled them down because they were in the way of the camera. Where did I put them? Oh, here. Let's just have a look through our enamel dots. So this is my enamel dot baggie. I have a bag. So let's have a look. Maybe some pink. Let's pull a bit of pink back in there. So where are my pink enamel dots? It should be somewhere here. Oh, here they are. Right to the back. Look. And they match perfectly. So we could go with a really bright one, or I'm going to go probably with the softer pink. I'm just going to pop on a couple of enamel dots on there. Or should I or shouldn't I? I'm hesitating. I don't know if I will. I think I'm just going to keep it like this. I'm not going to do anything else. Let's just keep it a bit simpler. There we go. So if you wanted to now, you can cut off the edge of the image here. I'm just going to keep it as such. The only thing I'm going to add, just because I like adding that around my cards, is I'm just going to doodle a border around it. It's just something I like to do. And I always doodle a double border. There we go. Because with a double border, you can have wonky lines. There we go. Yes, probably I could just add a little heart sentiment. What I was thinking is I probably should have done this a little bit lower. I'm going to see, but our foam tape is so good, I can't get it any lower. I should have just moved this down a teeny tiny bit. There we go. So that's our first card. Let's go on to our second one. So for our second card, you're going to need some watercolor cardstock, which I put here. So this is the Altenew A2 watercolor cardstock. We're going to do a little bit of embossing. So you will need embossing ink. And I just wanted to remind you that Altenew does have a re-inker. Let me just pull that out for you. Pop it on top. Where is my re-inker? Oh, it's over here. So we do have a re-inker for the embossing ink. So if your embossing ink kind of dries up, just get the re-inker. I use this one all the time because I do like embossing. And that way you can just add some more glue ink, and then you're all set to go. So for this one, I'm going to use my floral image here, so the Lotus. This time I'm going to use my acrylic block just because I'm stamping the outline. Oh, let's go with the bigger one. There we go. Like so. There we go. So that's my outline all ready to go. I'm going to use my clear embossing ink, which you can see here. So it's nice and juicy. There we go. So making sure I've got all the nooks and crannies. I am going to use some of my anti-static powder, which is this fun little handkerchief filled with arrowroot powder. So I'm just going to pop that on there. And then I'm going to stamp it once, like so. There we go. Oh, it's still a bit red. That's okay. I've still got a bit of red color on there. That's okay. We can see it. And then I'm going to stamp it another time, like more here at the bottom. There we go. And then I'm going to do a third time, just a little bit over the edge. So not a lot, just a little bit over the edge here. Just a teeny tiny bit. There we go. So that's done. And now I can add my white embossing powder. So I'm just going to pop this onto some scrap paper, drizzle a little bit of white, pure white embossing powder over that embossing ink. There we go. Give it a good tap to get any excess off. You can always check to see if it's nicely covered, which it is. And then I'm just going to create my little funnel like so, and then pop my powder back in. I close my little piece of scrap paper. That way I don't get any thing on my desk, and then I immediately close this because I'm a clumsy person and I might just hit or bump into it and then have it all over the place. So all we need to do now is take our heat gun and heat set this. There we go. So now that it's heat set, you can't see it because it's all white. Oh, I've still got a bit of matte over there, which means that hasn't melted yet. Let's go back in. There we go. So that's a good way of checking your embossing powder. It has to be nice and shiny. If it's still a bit matte, it means you have to heat set it a little bit more. So that's white. If you prefer, you could go with a gold color or a platinum. It will give you another effect, but it would look really nice too. I'm going to take a little bit of water if I need to water down my my color, as I'm using the artist watercolor brush markers. There we go. And I don't have my mixing palette on hand, so I probably just use an acrylic block. And for my brushes, I think I'm going to use probably number 4 and number 2. Let's just go. So these are 2 brushes from the 5 water brush set over here. There we go. So the set of 5 artist watercolor brush sets. There we go. So for my colors, let's just have a look at my little pot. So I just put them all in one. I'm going to use probably my favorites again, Purple Wine, which I'm going to mix in with, let me see, Turquoise, and then or Lagoon. Oh, these are colors I like to mix. Ultramarine. Okay, I'm going to probably use ultramarine for my water. Okay, let's just go with that. I think I'm good. Or maybe Sea Breeze. Okay, I think I'll go with this. I'm going to go with Purple Wine, Lagoon, and Sea Breeze. I've got my 3 colors. There we go. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to color in my Lotus. You will start seeing the color appear and the shading once I start adding my colors. So I'm going to start with, maybe I'll take the smaller one. Okay, let's go with number 2. So I'm just going to take water. Uta, we're on Facebook and on YouTube, so I can see 91 in total. So I'm just going to add some water to my floral images. Okay, and what's nice about this is because we've got the embossing, you can stay nicely inside the image. There we go. So I'm just going to add water. This is just going to prep the color. And you can, if you're afraid to go directly in with the watercolor brush markers, you can add color onto maybe a palette. Okay, be very careful when you unscrew these and you've already used them. You might get color over the place. So you can go in with your palette and then pick color up from there, or you can go directly in with your watercolor brush marker. So so I'm just adding my color, and then I can go back in and just kind of blend that out with my brush. I am adding color all over the place, so this is my kind of quick and easy color technique. So I'm kind of picking up the color here where it's darker, and then I'm kind of blending it out to where it's lighter, and I can always add more color afterwards. There we go. So you can start seeing that come to life. And these brushes, they have a really nice fine tip, which means you can get really nice into those little details. Very super easy to do. There we go. Let's just add a little bit more color here. Here as well. There we go. You're on YouTube, Uta. Oh, they'll come. The viewers will come. So once again, just blending out the colors. And you can always add more color afterwards to create more definition. And I'll be blending 2 colors together. So these are 2 colors I love to use together. I should try others. But I'm kind of, when I'm in the mood for kind of colors, I kind of use them over and over again and do variations on them. So now I'm going to add So I've already added my color to my whole leaf, flower. So you can see how that has come to life. I'm going to add more shading here. And once again, if you need to know where to add your shading, just pop. For example, you've got an example here. You can look, oh, it's a bit darker around there. It's a bit darker on the tips. You can create your own variations. So there we go. I'm just going to add like darker shades here. There we go. Along the edges here where the petals kind of fall into the center. And then I'm going to add more color. Oh, thank you, Uta. So once again, just blend that out ever so slightly, just to create those variations. And once I've got this done, I'm going to add a bit of my second color, my lagoon, just to create a little bit of a difference. Okay, just add a bit here as well. So once again, you can pick up color from your palette, or here I'm using my acrylic block. There we go. Just blend that out a bit. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of lagoon just to create a kind of a little bit of difference in the color. So I'm just going to add a couple of spots, and it's going to create a fun little blue shade here. Okay, so I'm just going to add that in a couple of spots. I just want a teeny tiny bit, not too much. And then once again, I'm going to go in with my watercolor brush, just with some water. And then I'm just going to, that's a bit too much. Just, ooh, that's a lot of water. Let's pop it down. So it's always a good idea to have a little bit of a cloth hanging around, so you can just like dab your brush off a little bit. So once again, I'm just going to pull that color out. And just blend that in. And you can always add a little bit more of that purple wine just to kind of blend the color. And if it's too harsh, just pick it up with a bit of water and pull the color out. It's very easy to do. You just have to kind of test it out a little bit. The blue just creates this fun, like, little shade. So it's lagoon mixed in. You could just go with blue. If you go in with blue, it creates more of a purpley shade. So there we go. Here we're just creating some variation in that color. And once again, if it's too blue, you just like pick up that color a little bit and you just blend it out even more. This paper is pretty forgiving. I'm just going to pull that all over just to kind of. And once again, you can always kind of mix in a bit more of that purple wine. Add water just to soften the color, just to make it a little bit more pink, or blend the colors together a little bit more. There we go. Oh, I'm going to add a teeny tiny dot more here. Just a teeny tiny dot. Thank you for sharing. There we go. That's better. And then I'm just going to take like a semi-wet brush, like half dry, and just go over everything. So this is the fun thing with watercoloring. You can always go in and kind of adjust as it's drying. There we go. So that's our first one done. Let's go on to the second color. And you can see, you can just keep it a pink color if you wanted to. But by adding that blue, it just creates like a little bit, it's a bit of a different shade. So once again, let's go in with our second flower. So I'm just going to add a bit of water. It will dry up a little bit, but it just, when I do this, I kind of think I can play around with the color a little bit more because the paper is like a little bit wet. So let's go in with our pink shade once again. Oh, okay. So here I'm going to go directly in. Just going to add this to the base of some of those petals, and then I'm going to kind of blend the color out a bit. There we go. You start off with nothing, and then when you start like pulling that color out, you will get that look. And if you wanted to, you could create one pink one, the one with like a more of a bluer shade, and then kind of do variations on the color. And no two flowers will be the same. That's the fun with this technique, because you never know how the color is going to react, how you're going to blend it out. Sometimes you add a bit more. And so you will each time you will get a different flower, and that's great because that's how it's in nature as well. You always have a different kind of look. So here I'm kind of creating my base layer with that, just kind of pulling that purple wine out. It's one of my favorite colors, I think. I use this one a lot, the purple wine. Okay, just pull that color out. So this one's going to be, I think, a little bit darker. I've used a lot more of the purple wine here. There we go. So I think I'm going to keep this one a lot more purple winey. Let's just say it like that. There we go. I might add a little bit of that blue, but not too much, just to create like a little variation on that first one. So I am trying to blend out those colors a little bit more. There we go. And I love this technique because it's super easy. You don't have to worry too much about going outside of the lines because you've got your embossed images there. There we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit of that lagoon. So I'm just going to add that, no, the lagunia onto, whoops, onto my, I'm just going to add a little bit. So try and water that down so it's not as harsh as the first one. I just want a subtle color here. Very, very subtle, because I want it to be a little bit different from the first one. So very, very subtle. Once again, just want a little bit of that kind of shade in there, not too much. So the key is just playing around with that water, and if it's too dark, kind of quickly picking it up with a clean brush and just kind of blending it all in. So I just want it to be ever so subtle, just a little bit. Like this. This is perfect. So it's just going to create a really soft blue tint to it, but not too much, just the right amount. There we go. Okay, and now we've got our last little floral here, which is like just peeking out from the edge. I'm just going to pick up the color here. Kind of quickly do this one, like so. This is going to be really fast because it's a smaller one. Let's just, I'm just going to add a couple of darker shades here. There we go, not too much. Yes, it is, Chris. It's a really, really, really pretty color. And I love that when you water it down, it becomes really soft, but it can be very vibrant as well. And once again, I'm just going to add a teeny tiny bit of that blue, just ever so softly here, just to get that a little bit of shading in there. There we go. So those are my flowers, which are ready now. And I do want to add this kind of a blue idea of water. So probably about here. So I'm going to use my Sea Breeze, but I'm going to water it down. Oh, that's not watering it down. That's adding a lot of color. So I'm just going to take a little piece of scrap. I'm going to kind of water it down and just see how that looks. See, that's already pretty dark. So just really, really water that down. Okay. I'm going to water that down even more. Okay, let's just go in. So I'm just going to add, I just want a really soft blue color just to create that kind of watercolor effect. Really, really soft. So the more water you add, the softer the color is going to be. And this is just going to give a little bit of definition around those florals. I'm going to do this very, very carefully because I do not want to mix the color in. So let's just pop it up there. So round about there is where the water will stop, and I'm going to add some here as well. Well, I might do it a little bit higher. Let's just do it like so. There we go. And then just to finish it off, I'm just going to take a little bit of that color. Once again, just water it down, and then I'm going to add some splatters. So let me just test the color. Yeah, that should be fine. And I'm going to add some splatters at the top. Just some of those blue splatters. Really fine. There we go. I'm just using my hand just to protect the flowers a little bit. So there we go. That's that. Let's give our brush a little clean. I'll put this to one side. So there we have. I might just clean this up a little bit. Let's just get this nice and straight. Just going to kind of soften the look at the top to get those harsh blue lines. Like so, that's better. There we go. So there we have the finished card. Try and hold it up a little bit so you can see it. There we go. So you can see that soft blue and then our pretty lotus florals over there. So once that's dry, I can add a sentiment again. So let's have a look on our You Complete Me. You Complete Me. Let's do that one. So you, I hope this one, I think it's dry. The little splatters should be dry. So where is my obsidian? Over here. You. So this is watercolor cardstock. Might color a little bit differently when you're stamping on it, but the obsidian is really good. And if you stamp in black, it will really stand out from the colors you've used. So you, and then I said Complete Me. Let's pop that on. You're welcome, Nancy. Always a pleasure to be here. And I had fun because I wasn't going to use this stamp set because I didn't have time. And now I have used it and I've got some cards. There we go. So You Complete Me. And once again, you can add some enamel dots or whatever you like. Let's get out our first card. So 2 very different cards. I really do want to move those down a bit. I don't know if I'll be able to pull them off ever so gently. I'll just move the images down. Oh, it's coming off. Yay! Should be able to work. Let me just try this. There we go. We got one. Oh, this one is stuck nicely. Oh, let's just stay with that. It is bugging me that's so high. I want to move that down. Anyway, so those are the two cards for today. So one with just the outline and some loose watercoloring, and the other one with the layered stamping. So I hope I didn't miss too many of your comments or questions, but Joanna was there to help you with any questions you had, or to answer any of your questions, and to pop in all of the product links of the products I used today. Yeah, I'll probably just add another leaf. Thank you, Sue. Great idea. Sue to the rescue again. So these were the two cards we created, or I created today. So one, which I think probably I love this one. I just love watercoloring. So this one with a nice blue and purpley is a great way of using the sets. If you're wanting to watercolor and you're a bit afraid, this is a great way to watercolor. You can't go wrong. And then this one with the layering, but I think I'll be adding a third leaf underneath just to kind of fill up the space a little bit over here at the bottom. So those are the two cards we created today with our stamp set. There we go. I do hope you try out this wonderful set, or any similar sets you have. You can use these techniques on any of the Build-A-Flower sets. And if you do, don't forget to, if you post to social media, you can always hashtag it, Altenew in that. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this little live session with me, and a huge shout out to Joanna, who's been putting in all the links and answering all your questions. If I did miss any of them, I do hope you give these techniques a try, and I will see you very soon, well, next week, for another release, one of our other subscriptions. So I'll see you next week for another YouTube, Facebook Live. Stay safe, everyone. Have a lovely day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, or morning if you're really down under. And I will see you next week, Monday. Huge shout out to Joanna, and thanks once again for joining us and for sharing. It means the world, and have a lovely day. Bye, everyone.